Okay, thanks for waiting. We are going to talk about our final project, which named DejaView. Before going into our project, this is Mike.
Hello.
This is Robert Archibald Dobbin III, also known as Bonus.
Thank you. Hello.
We are going to talk about what is our project. We are going to do a short demo. We are going to talk about technologies, architecture we have been using. Also, we are going to cover challenges we have to face. Also, there are some future plans.
So before we show you what DejaView exactly is, a little bit behind the inspiration on why we did it. So the image here you see is a 90 years in weeks. Each row represents a year. And the author, Tim Urban, on his website has an article where he describes this, and he talks about being able to look at a particular week and you decide, is it a good week? Is it a bad week? Was it kind of a nothing week where you just watch Netflix for the entire week? And he goes on to describe maybe creating a journal, so this is something you can track. And a journal is great for going forward, and you can kind of see what your weeks are like. But it occurred to us that there's a lot of information out there that we can grab, and maybe we could look at our weeks going backwards. So we ended up creating sort of a nostalgia machine. Using publicly available data sources, we created a tool that lets you look at a particular point in your life. You can get the news of the day, the popular songs, and if it happens to be during a period where there was social media existing, you can grab that. Currently we have Facebook. This is me holding my son shortly after he was born. And we took it a step further and thought, okay, you can look at a point in your life, you could look at the weeks, you could look at the months or years, or maybe get a glance of your entire life, but then you could also compare it with somebody else's life. So this is me and my father, and our lives have been synced up here to the exact same point, and the ability to see what was going on in my dad's life at the same point I was when I was 29. So that is where we're hoping to take it someday.
So we'll show you what we have so far in our demo. So first thing, if you would, Mike's going to demonstrate for us. We will log into or go to our landing page. Let's zoom in just a bit, please. So the first thing you see here is a white rectangle. We call this a card. On this card, you see a series of events. Some of these events come from the New York Times. Some of them come from the Billboard Top or Hot 100 #1 song, also the #1 grossing movie, and occasionally Wikipedia has an entry for on this day. So let's make this a little more interesting. Would anyone care to volunteer their birthday, please? Anyone at all? Yes, you in the back.
17 August 1990.
Okay, so that was August 17th, 1990. Now, let's make this interesting. Let's go forward. Let's go forward 20 years. And what we're going to do here, 20 years, so that would be 2010. Yeah, very good. So what I want to do is filter out, let's look at only the movies and the music. And let's change the, what we call the granularity to just the year. So now each card is just going to show movies and music, one randomly selected top movie and top song from that year. So the idea is, as you look through this, you get a real feeling of, oh, I remember, this was 12 years ago. I remember when Fergie was on top of the charts. Of course, everyone remembers when Kanye was on top of the charts. It still is a lot of times. So there's one more cool feature I'd like to show you. So if you would, let's go back to today by refreshing. And now what you're going to see on these cards, like I said, we have 4 sources of information. We're also going to let Mike log into Facebook. So if you click on the Facebook login, it will forward us to Facebook, where Mike is going to log in for us. And if you know Mike, you know that this, oh, he's already logged in. So now Facebook has been added to our filters. Let's change, oh, there we go. So very good. So if you see Mike posted today that we have Code Chrysalis Demo Day at Pivotal. And if you were to scroll down, you would see Facebook posts for each day that Mike was posting on Facebook. So that is our application. And let's continue talking about the, if you click on a Facebook link, you will see the Facebook post itself. So that is our demo. Let's move right along to the development process. So when we had the idea, we wanted to get more creative and come up with more ideas of things to do. So we tried not to filter or criticize anything. We were writing lots of things on paper and post-it notes. And we also wanted to get organized after that and started being more critical of our ideas. Of course, when you build something big, you have to put everything in order. So once we put everything on order, it was easy to see what we should make first. Then we used GitHub issues to kind of organize our tasks, and we used milestones to focus on 1 week or 2 days at a time of work. When we made assignments to each of us, at first we tried to alternate who was assigned to what, so that we could maintain interest in the project, we could learn about different parts of the project, and try to get everyone's creativity in all aspects of the project. So Deja is going to continue now.
During the demo, we have seen that we are capable of getting New York Times data. We have Wikipedia on these state events, and these are the numbers we have in our database. So how did we collect all those data? There were two ways we used. The first is via an API. For New York Times case, they already have a public available API. So all we need to do is making HTTP request, collect the JSON files, and extract all the information we need and turn them into a card shown on DejaView.cc. The next way of collecting data was by parsing HTML. For example, Wikipedia doesn't have a decent API for on this day event. So we had to using Python to parse those HTML pages, extract the information we need, and turn them into a card on DejaView.cc. That's how we collected those data. If we have a look about our architecture, so if there are any requests hit DejaView.cc, a DNS record will direct that to Heroku, where we host our application. There is a concept called Dino on Heroku, which under the hood is a container, but we don't have to care too much about the scheduling, the life cycle. So that's where we deployed our application on. Our application is built with full-stack JavaScript. We have React on the front end. We have Express Node on the back end. We use Passport to do all user authentication with Facebook, and Kinex is the tool we use that to talk to the database. So when Dino wants some information, it has two sources. The first is Facebook. If a user is logged in, clearly it will go to Facebook and fetch those data and serve it, answering those requests. So we are not storing any user data. Another source is RDS, which is a fully managed relational database on AWS. We chose that because the free tier gave us the ability to have 20 gigabytes, which already used up. And another reason we chose AWS is we want to automate our data aggregation process. I will explain what's happening every day, and I hope those icons will make sense. So every day, on a predefined time, CloudWatch will trigger our function which is deployed on Lambda. Our function is written in Python, by the way. That function will go out to internet, collect the New York Times article on that day, collect the up-to-date Wikipedia status, calculate the difference, extract all the information we need into database. Also, it will store the raw JSON files in S3, which is the object storage. For backup, also for purpose of a cache, so we don't have to load all 366 days for Wikipedia every day.
So we did have some challenges along the way. Not any particular nitty-gritty technical challenges, but some design things. Gio was talking about our data aggregation and just the scale of the data. And at the end there, he was referencing the Wikipedia data, which is several thousand records we could be uploading every day. It's any time in the past somebody could add an event, so we need to look at the whole scope of it. We basically had to chunk that up so that we could get individual pieces from Wikipedia. But in addition to just the scale, each data source had sort of its own unique challenges. We're getting data in different ways from different things. Like the New York Times API, the further back you go, the less reliable the actual headlines and things like that are. And we also realized that the shape of the data changed as we went back in time, so we had to account for that. And Wikipedia, of course, is an open source platform, and so there's not a very consistent style to the things that we were trying to use HTML requests for, so we had to account for things like dashes being 1 dash or 2 dash, or that's just a small example. And on Facebook, Alex talked a little bit about this earlier, the app review process for that. We are still in app review, and we hope to hear back at some point. But also it was a learning curve for us, learning the Graph API for them as well. We had some database decisions to make along the way. A lot of our data comes back in JSON format, so we looked at NoSQL briefly, but there were so many different shapes of data, and really we needed a simple shape that we could read quickly and also be able to aggregate on. Because we want to switch from that week to month to year very quickly, the database query is doing that for us, and we don't have to do that on the front end. So relational database made more sense. Talked about Facebook already. One thing we did run into was the time zone when we're trying to create these different granularities. We wanted to normalize right up front to say, let's use UTC for everything because we're pulling from all these different sources. But the different sources wanted to feed us the local time zone data from that. We ultimately had to fix this, got to fix this using the moment library, which handled it quite nicely and was able to convert everything to UTC when we're aggregating for those weeks, months, days. So, thank you.
I'd like to tell you about our plans for the future. Like Mike said at the beginning, we would like to ideally compare 2 different timelines with 2 different generations or 2 people. We'd like to be able to rank events. Right now we're showing random events that appear in a certain time period. We'd like to maybe show the most important somehow. We're interested in adding more data sources, like more social media integration, Facebook likes or comments, or also Twitter tweets or trends. That would be interesting. Perhaps even location information, if you could see and be reminded when you moved to a different country or when you took a nice vacation. That would be interesting. We'd also like to be able to format the data beautifully so you could maybe share it with your friends or print it out. Those are our future plans. So thank you very much for your attention. Check us out at DejaView.cc or any of us at these locations. Thank you very much.